Hello guys, welcome to Interchange 2 Unit 2, Life in the City. In this unit, we will talk about compound nouns, expressions of quantity, and indirect questions. Let's begin. Compound nouns. A compound noun is a single noun made of two or more words. For example, we have sea and food, and together they create seafood. So in this case, seafood is a new word that you create combining sea and food. So those are compound nouns. It's a word that you create combining two words or more. Sometimes they have spaces like ice cream, swimming pool, bus stop, living room. Sometimes they don't have spaces like classmate, greenhouse, grasshopper, and lifespan. And sometimes they are divided with hyphens. For example, mother-in-law, dry cleaning, self-confidence, and merry-go-round. Now we will see some compound nouns of things that we can find in our city. With bicycle, we have bicycle lane and bicycle stand. The bicycle lane is an area of the street where only bicycles can transit. Cars and buses cannot drive in that area because it's only for bicycles. The next one, bicycle stand. The bicycle stand, it's a place where you can leave your bicycle. It's like a parking for bicycles. With bus, we have bus lane, bus station, bus stop, and bus system. The bus lane, it's an area of the street where only buses can transit, only buses can drive in this area. The bus station, it's a building where you can find a lot of buses and you can buy a ticket. The bus stop, it's usually an area of the street where you can sit down and wait for the bus. And the bus system, it's a group of buses that follow rules, that follow instructions and a schedule. They are organized. With green, we have green spaces. Green spaces are green areas, natural areas, such as rivers, lakes, places with a lot of plants and animals. Those are green spaces. With parking, we have parking garage and parking space. The parking garage is a building where you can park your car, and a parking space is the area that you have assigned to park your car. In this case, we can find different parking spaces. For example, this is one, this is another parking space, this is another one. So the parking space is the area that you have to park your car, and the parking garage is the building where you can park your car. Then we have recycling. Remember, recycling is when you reuse something, when you use something again, you convert trash into something useful. For example, we have recycling center and recycling system. The recycling center is a place where you can recycle things. And the recycling system, it's a process, it's all the rules and instructions that people follow to recycle. With street, we have street lights. The lights that we have in these streets, they are here for us to see better, for us not to have a dark street. They are here to illuminate the street. With train, we have train stop, train station, and train system. The train stop is the area where you can sit down and wait for the train. The train station, it's a building where you can wait for the train, you can buy tickets, and sometimes we have more places like shops and cafeterias where people can do more things. And the train system, it's a group of trains and they follow a schedule. They have different times, they are organized. With the subway, we have subway stop, subway station, and subway system. This is similar to the train. The subway stop, the area where you can wait for the train to stop. The subway station, it's a building where the trains usually transit and people can wait for them and buy tickets. And the subway system, it's a group of trains that they go to different places, they have different schedules and they are organized. They have different lines. With taxi, we have taxi lane and taxi stand. The taxi lane is the area of the street where only taxis can transit or drive in that area. In this case, in the picture, you can see that it's a bus and taxi lane. So in this area, only taxis and buses can transit or drive. And we have the taxi stand. The taxi stand is usually a place of the street where you can stand up and wait for your taxi. Taxis usually stop there and you can take them. To finish with the compound nouns, we have traffic. With traffic, we have traffic light and traffic jam. The traffic lights are the ones that control the traffic. They usually have three colors: red, yellow or orange, and green. Red means that you have to stop. Yellow or orange means that it's about to get green. And green means that cars can continue. And then we have traffic jam. The traffic jam is when we have a lot of cars or buses together and there is not too much space. They cannot advance quickly because there are too many. Expressions of quantity. Expressions of quantity tell us how many or how much of something there is. For example, there are too many cars in this city. In this case, if you check the pictures, there is an excess of cars. There are too many cars in the city. So too many is an excess. We use many for count nouns. Before we continue with the grammar, it's very important to remember count nouns and non-count nouns. Remember, count nouns are things that you can count, and they have a plural or a singular. And non-count nouns are things that you cannot count, and they just have one form. Some examples of count nouns are parking garage, for example, parking garage, parking garages, car, cars, dog, dogs, person, people, train, trains, traffic light, traffic lights, park, parks, school, schools, police officer, police officers, bus, buses, accident, accidents, criminal, criminals. So you can have a plural or a singular with count nouns. Now, with non-count nouns, it's only one option. For example, parking, traffic, trash, pollution, noise, crime, recycling, public transportation, correction, water, gasoline, and protection. We cannot say parkings, traffics, trashes, pollutions, noises, crimes, recyclings, public transportations, corrections, waters, gasolines, protections. No, that is wrong because they are non-count nouns. Expressions of quantity. Here we have some expressions of quantity with count nouns and non-count nouns. For example, too many, too much, fewer, less, more, and enough. Too much and too many are similar. They represent an excess, more than necessary. We use too much with non-count nouns, as you can see here, and we use too many with count nouns, with things that you can count. So they are similar. The difference is that we use many with count nouns and much with non-count nouns. So too much and too many represent an excess, more than necessary. Then we have fewer and less. Fewer and less are similar, but we use fewer with count nouns, with things that we can count, and less with things that we cannot count, but they represent the same. And more can be used with count nouns and no count nouns. More can be used with both. The same happens with enough. Enough is sufficient. When we have the exact amount of what we need, that is enough, sufficient. For example, there are too many cars. There is too much pollution. Cars is count nouns, and pollution is no count noun. That's why we use much with pollution and many with cars. Then we have there should be fewer cars. There should be less pollution. In this case, again, we use less with pollution because it's no count noun, and we use fewer with cars because it's a count noun. The next one, we need more street lights, and we need more public transportation. In this case, we can use more with count nouns and with no count nouns. It's not a problem. And the last one, enough. There aren't enough police officers. There isn't enough parking. Now remember, with count nouns, you need the verb to be in the plural form, are. If you can see here, there are, there aren't. Now with non-count nouns, we use the verb be in the singular form, is, there is, and there isn't. There should be, it's similar to we need. For example, there should be more police officers in the streets. We need more police officers in the streets. There should be more schools. We need more schools. There should be more honest people. We need more honest people. So there should be and we need are similar in meaning. This is the conversation for Unit 2. In this conversation, we have a person asking for information. Let's listen to them talking.
Page 11, Exercise 8. Conversation. Do you know where? Part A. Listen and practice.
Excuse me, do you know where the nearest ATM is?
There's one down the street, across from the cafe.
Great. And do you know where I can catch a bus downtown?
Sure. Just look for the signs for public transportation.
Okay. And can you tell me how often they run?
They run every 10 minutes or so.
And just one more thing. Could you tell me where the restrooms are?
Right inside. Do you see where that sign is?
Oh, thanks a lot.
Indirect questions from the OBH questions. Indirect questions are a little more formal and polite. We use them when talking to a person we don't know very well or in professional situations. For example, do you know where the subway station is? Do you know where the subway station is? So in this case, we use these questions with people that we don't know very well or to sound more professional because we don't want to be so direct. Indirect questions from the OBH questions. Here we will see indirect questions in three different forms, with the verb to be, with the auxiliary do or the simple present, and the modal can. For example, where is the nearest ATM? Where are the restrooms? How often do the buses run? What time does the bookstore open? Where can I catch the bus? So these questions are too direct. You cannot ask these questions to a person that you don't know very well because you are going to sound rude or too direct. It's better if you start with a phrase like this once. Could you tell me? Do you know? Do you happen to know? I would like to know. If you use these phrases at the beginning, you sound more polite. So these phrases are used to start indirect questions. There are more, but these are some of the most common. For example, could you tell me where the nearest ATM is? Do you know where the restrooms are? Can you tell me how often the buses run? Do you know what time the bookstore opens? Do you know where I can catch the bus? So if you check, first we start with the phrase. Can you tell me? Do you know? Do you happen to know? I would like to know. That is the first thing. But we have to use a phrase for indirect questions. After the phrase, we are going to add the question. If you check, the same question, it's here. But the difference is that with the verb to be, we have to change the position. We have to send the verb be to the end. If you check, here says, where is the nearest ATM? And here says, where the nearest ATM is. The next one, where are the restrooms? Where the restrooms are. If you check, we change the position of the verb to be to the end. For the auxiliary do or the simple present, we have to delete do or does, and we have to conjugate the verb. For example, buses run, bookstore opens. The buses is in plural, it's they run. Now bookstore is it, so it opens. We have to conjugate the verb based on the subject. So here we delete the auxiliary. That's why we conjugate the verb. For example, how often do the buses run? Can you tell me how often the buses run? What time does the bookstore open? Do you know what time the bookstore opens? With the auxiliary can, we have to change the position of the subject and the auxiliary can. For example, where can I catch the bus? Do you know where I can catch the bus? If you check, here it says, where can I? But in the second one, in the indirect question says, where I can. So we change the position of the subject and the auxiliary can, or the modal. Remember, with the verb to be, we move the verb to be to the end. With the simple present or the auxiliary do, we delete the auxiliary do or does, and we conjugate the verb in the simple present form. And with the modal can, we invert the positions of the subject and can. Here we have some exercises. For example, where are the buses? Where are the buses? Could you tell me where the buses are? Could you tell me where the buses are? The next one. What time is it? What time is it? Could you tell me what time it is? Could you tell me what time it is? Here we have questions with the verb to be. So we need to use one phrase at the beginning of the question, and then at the end we have to send the verb be to the end. So here we have the verb be after the WH word, but here in the indirect question we have the verb be at the end. So don't forget that. Then we have the simple present or the auxiliary do or does. How late does Sunville close? How late does Sunville close? Could you tell me how late Sunville closes? Could you tell me how late Sunville closes? The next one. How much do the tickets cost? How much do the tickets cost? Could you tell me how much the ticket cost? Could you tell me how much the tickets cost? In this case, we have the auxiliary do or does. The first one, we need a phrase, could you tell me, at the beginning of the question, and we need to conjugate the verb to the simple present form. But we need to eliminate the auxiliary, do or does. If you check, Sunville is it, so Sunville closes. The tickets is they, cost. And for the last one, we have, how can I get the Metro card? How can I get the Metro card? Could you tell me how I can get the Metro card? Could you tell me how I can get the Metro card? And the next one, where can I buy cheap clothes? Where can I buy cheap clothes? Could you tell me where I can buy cheap clothes? Could you tell me where I can buy cheap clothes? In this case, we have questions with the modal can. What we need to do is to change the position of the subject and the modal can. Here says, can I? But in the indirect question, we have, I can. Could you tell me how I can get the Metro card? Could you tell me where I can buy cheap clothes? Well guys, that was everything for today. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.